All right, welcome everybody back for another episode of Toast Time. This would be episode 4. We are recording on December the 2nd, 2020 at 6:50 p.m. on the Vendetta Sports Media Network. I got with me my co-host as always, Jackson Law. Jackson, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Was looking forward to today. Finally got through the NFL week because tonight, actually, the game between the Steelers and the Ravens just ended like a few minutes ago. So there's that whole debacle.
Yeah, that game took forever to start, and it was actually pretty funny. Chris Collinsworth actually dropped a pretty funny line. Very rare of him, but early in the game they didn't call like a delay game on the Steelers, and he was like, "Well, I guess the refs are even scared to delay this game." I thought that's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That was
Well,
pretty.
game recognized game. Got to give Chris Collinsworth his due when he makes a funny line.
Yeah, that was a good one, Chris. I really like that one, but. Anyway, all right, let's get into it. So first up, as always, Buttery. So my Buttery pick this week. Honestly, I just really don't know how I could have picked anybody else but Tyreek Hill. The man had 13 catches, 269 yards, and had 3 touchdowns, and 200 yards came in the first quarter. I
Yeah,
mean, watching this game, it was fast and furious. The Chiefs were just going way over the top, scoring at will. And, not for nothing, but I don't understand what Todd Bowles was doing. He had probably the Bucks' slowest corner going man up on Tyreek Hill for the whole first quarter. And it was just it was horrible. Like Tyreek Hill dusted this poor guy, and he's looking over the sideline like somebody help me. They gave him no safety help over the top or nothing. They just let this man get burnt on on live TV. That on a primetime spot, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it, and like to their credit, they adjusted in the second quarter and after halftime, and Tyreek Hill really didn't um go off for that. Like he had another explosive catch for a touchdown in the second half, but they at least put to bed Tyreek Hill being on pace for 600 yards in a game. So I give them credit for at least doing that. But Tyreek Hill is definitely my buttery pick this week because he just balled. He just balled out, man. Like there was just nothing else you could say. He was on the phone uh, telling the Buccaneers fans that he called for help and help was coming for the Bucks.
I know he was. And the backflip that he did to score, like it wasn't like he scored and then did a backflip. He stopped at the 1 yard line, turned around, and just did a backflip to get in the end zone. The disrespect was real, and I loved it. I loved it. I've always liked Tariq Hill. He's always been kind of a boomer bust guy, like in the past couple years, but this year business is booming for him. Really, only like maybe one or two other wide receivers are having a better season than what he's having. And that was even before a 200 and something yard game
Yeah.
where 95% of his yards came in the first quarter, which is some Randy Moss type shenanigans that he was pulling out there. Uh, but yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. I was catching parts of that game, and I was just sitting there jaw dropping every time. Like, my God, that poor corner
that poor man.
left
He just wanted some help, man. That's all he did. He just wanted
left on an
ball.
island against a man whose nickname is Cheetah.
Like I don't know how could that possibly go wrong?
So, but all right, so my buttery pick for this week is another guy who balled out really well on a crappy team, but balled out well. It's Deshaun Watson. Got to show my boy some love. I wish he'd get out of Houston. He deserves so much better than what he's getting. Works his ass off every week, it feels like, does everything in his power to try and win. But we've beat the Bill O'Brien horse, to death. I'm sure we can still beat it, a couple more times. Uh, but he had a great game against the Lions. 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. almost a perfect passer rating at 150.4. Like that is insane. And obviously they won big against Detroit, and yeah, it's Detroit, so he should perform that well. And Will Fuller had a great game too, but then he gets suspended for 6 games for using PEDs, which severely hurts my fantasy team because I had Fuller on my fantasy team, like the Vendetta fantasy league. So I'm officially screwed. The only reason why I won this week is because I had Watson and Fuller, and each of those guys got 30. And then I also had Gibson from Washington, and he got me 30 points this week too. It was a great week for me until I heard about that news. But Watson, just another great game, and overall, and really the last 5 games, he's played fairly well, and the team is looking kind of better. They've won 3 of their last 5, and only one of them really, which was against Green Bay. One of the losses, they've lost to Green Bay and Cleveland during this last 5-game span. They were in it with Cleveland, which that was only a 10-7 game, so that was kind of a stinker. But Green Bay, they showed some fight in them. It wasn't that close, but they showed some fight. So Deshaun is starting to pick up steam. I like to see it. I'm always rooting for Deshaun, for Watson. I have been ever since he was at Clemson, and then of course when he got into the league, and then pairing him with D-Hop, it felt like it was always meant to be. And then of course Bill O'Brien, as we've stated 100 times before, just absolutely slaughters this team, cuts their throats, and says peace and is out. But shout out to Deshaun, man. He's trying his best. He's trying his darnest to win in Houston.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, he's doing the most with least. I feel like there's really not much that he can do. I mean, Will Fuller, him getting suspended for PEDs really really sucks. How would you feel as Deshaun Watson? You got your number 1 receiver was traded by the tyrant Bill O'Brien. Now you got your second best receiver, who is your best receiver this year, and pretty much all you have, because also the Texans cut Kenny Stills. So
I was about to say that, yeah.
So now you have nobody.
By the way, I want to say Stills and Tunsil were traded together to Houston from Miami for the first-round pick this year. Or he may have been the second-round pick. I can't remember. Okay, I got to look it up real quick, but because I got to see. Because if that's the case, then the level of stupidity is just phenomenal.
I don't know if it was the same trade. Was it?
Let me see. NFL.com, Texans trade for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. Okay, so it was
the same trade.
Yep. Look at this. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport are reporting that the Texans are trading 2 first-round picks plus a second-round pick to Miami Dolphins in exchange for left tackle Tunsil and wide receiver Kenny Stills. So, nice.
Nice. There you go right there. I mean, it's amazing. Bill O'Brien's mark on this team will never go away. It's going to take quite a long time for his mark to really go away. Until then, everyone's just going to keep mentioning it because he ruined Deshaun Watson's career. To be, in my eyes, if Deshaun Watson doesn't leave Houston and is one of those guys, it's I'm going to stick it out here for better or for worse, whatever happens. I mean, I respect it, but at the same time, that's you just damned yourself to, you'll be a good fantasy player and put up great numbers, but you never win anything.
Yeah, which he hasn't even been that great of a fantasy player this year, just because he's so reliant. He needs weapons around him, and he doesn't. Will Fuller was the only thing he had, and Fuller had a couple of good weeks, and of course Watson and fantasy owners benefited from that, including myself, especially when the two of them were connecting because, best of both worlds when the two of them could connect for a touchdown, which is why the Thanksgiving game was so great. I had such a great Thanksgiving was because I'm sitting there and I'm watching just Will Fuller wide open, not a defender within 20 yards of him, just catch the ball and just kind of look around, realize that no one's around him, just waltz right into the end zone.
Yeah, the Lions were I don't know what they were doing on defense that game, but it was terrible. They were getting fooled by
Yeah.
like the worst plays imaginable, like
Yeah,
some delayed flea flicker.
yeah. But finally, Patricia is gone.
That's right.
He
That's
is
right.
gone. Patricia and their GM is gone.
hmm
So the
It was
rebuild can
only a matter.
finally
It
start.
was only a matter of time.
It was probably about, I would say, 6 or 8 weeks too late.
Yeah, I think so. I think he should have been gone after last season. They shouldn't even have gave him another chance this year.
True,
It
true
was
that,
just
true
it was
that.
just
I'm
bad.
trying to I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and saying, okay, we're gonna give you one more year. But even then, if that was a GM decision and not like an ownership
Yeah.
decision to hang on to Matt Patricia, because a lot of times a GM will try to make a coach work, especially if the GM knows that they may be on their last legs.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, this has to work because I can't fire this guy and then try to get a new coach when they fired a coach that had gotten them to the playoffs
Yep.
a couple
Mhm.
years in a row. I went with Patricia, but enough of that.
Enough of that nonsense. But anyway, we'll keep moving here. So going to our burnt toast segment. My burnt toast this week, none other than Tom Brady. Tom Brady, he's starting to be a regular on this show because week after week, his Tampa Bay Bucks and that offense just disappoint week after week. I mean, okay, the Kansas City Chiefs don't have that great of a defense. Like that's no secret. I mean, you could score on the Kansas City Chiefs, no problem. The Raiders put up 40 on them earlier this year, and they are frequently in high-scoring games. So the Kansas City Chiefs defense isn't that great. But Tom Brady and that offense fell behind way too quickly in that game to ever come back. Like, yeah, they mustered up something at the end, but it still wasn't enough. And to be honest, the final score doesn't reflect how that game really went. That game was not close at all. Yeah, they only lost by 3, but that wasn't even. It really wasn't even close. And honestly, especially after last week, that horrible performance that Tom Brady gave us against the LA Rams, and not even that within the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks actually, Tom Brady has gotten absolutely smoked by the Rams, the Saints, and the Chiefs. He cannot beat good teams with the Bucks. They can't beat a single good team. The only good team they beat this year is probably the Packers back in I think early November. But
Yeah, I was like week 3 or 4.
yeah, earlier than that, like October. I don't know, whatever that
Yeah,
game
yeah, yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever that game was, that was the only good team that they've beaten. And honestly, I just chalked that game up to like that was just a fluke game for Aaron Rodgers because ever since then, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been doing, what he was at the beginning of the season. He's still like Aaron Rodgers still going off, still performing well. His team's winning. Tom Brady, that team is not winning. They are 7-5 now after starting out like 6-2 or something that affect 5-2, I believe. They're now 7-5, and it's just like getting bad. Bruce Arians continues to call him out in the media, and Tom Brady continues to sulk and not shake the hands of quarterbacks. Although he shook Pat Mahomes' hand, I'll give him credit for that. But man, Tom Brady just is not doing good this year, and with all the weapons that he has, like it just gets me so sick because I'm so tired of people, and by people I mean like analysts and just like stupid fans on Twitter who like think super teams work in the NFL. Super teams do not work in the NFL. They never have and they never will. You can't just throw together a bunch of free agents and think you're a Super Bowl contender. It does not work that way. It never works out. I mean, you could go and look back at the Eagles when they had I think it was like Michael Vick, Vince Young, Nnamdi Asomugha, and Vince Young is sitting there. And first of all, Vince Young, backup quarterback, is in the press conference talking about, oh, we're a dream team. Yeah, well, that team didn't even make the playoffs. So I can't stand putting together these super teams and thinking that you can just go and win a Super Bowl right away because that's not going to happen. And Tom Brady is further proving my point that these super teams don't work in the NFL. And this season, I don't see them doing anything they'll be lucky at this point if they even make the playoffs with the way they're playing. But they'll probably make the playoffs and get early bounced by the Saints most likely. And it'll just be a long off season for Tom Brady, as he'll have to hear about how Bill Belichick doesn't need him and is probably doing more with less up in New England than Tom Brady is doing with all these weapons in Tampa.
Yeah, they started out 6-2,
Okay.
and then have gone have lost 3 of 4 since their win against the Giants. Since they're really close, 25-23 win against the Giants. They lost against the Saints, beat the Panthers, and then have lost 2 weeks in a row to the Rams and the Chiefs. So yeah, they're sitting at 7-5 right now. They've got the Vikings, the Falcons, the Lions, and then the Falcons again. I want to say that they'll beat the Falcons twice, even though the Falcons just put the hammer down out of nowhere.
That was
which I mean, the Raiders don't have a great defense to begin with, but still dropping 40 on the Raiders, that's no easy task for an NFL squad to do that against an NFL defense, even if it is like, say one of the worst 5, worst 10 defenses in the league. But it's a tough road. I didn't believe in this team from the beginning because everyone was trying to say that they are going to be able to compete against the Chiefs, but all they're the poor man's Chiefs. The Chiefs are the only team that have been able to figure out how to make this mass amount of talent work. But how they make it work is they have an excellent head coach in Andy Reid, and they have possibly could be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time if he continues his trajectory, if he continues to do what he's doing in Patrick Mahomes. That's where the hierarchy starts. The hierarchy is different, where the talent of Tom Brady doesn't match where he thinks he belongs on the totem pole. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, even though he's arguably, if not the best, he is definitely one of the top, 3 quarterbacks in the league.
Absolutely.
He very well may win MVP again this year just because the Chiefs have been playing so well, and there's been a couple, and the Seahawks have kind of fallen off at some points, and so it's really kind of a race now between him and Aaron Rodgers. So they've made it work, but also having all those offensive weapons leaves them open on defense. But kudos to them because they've drafted well on defense, or they've gotten someone like Honey Badger, who was kind of given up by the Texans and the Cardinal and had a little bit of a resurgence with Arizona. And then he comes in and he becomes honestly like the leader of that defense. And they're all wrapped up for long-term contracts. Now, it's not a great defense. Like you said, they get into a lot of shootouts and you're going to score 21, 24 points. You're going to get a couple touchdowns on them. But yeah, it's just night and day. I was, couldn't believe that people were comparing, the Bucs and the Chiefs, and this just goes to show you'll have Tom Brady and you'll have Bucs people that are trying to defend their pick of Brady winning the Super Bowl, of Brady winning MVP, or them, making the Super Bowl, and saying that it was a close game. Where it's like, no, the score doesn't always reflect the game.
Yeah,
and a lot of times, like, you could almost say that, like, maybe the Chiefs did a bad thing on taking their foot off the gas pedal a little bit. That's what it kind of seemed to me. They were good drives nonetheless, but it was too little too late.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so my burnt pick this week, I've got a lot of just, like, teams on here for me this week. I don't know why. It's just some things that are starting to annoy me. But one of the things that I've got on my burn is I've got the Indianapolis Colts, and kind of like as a / Phillip Rivers type of thing. Excuse me. And just because that I think that if they had any other quarterback, any other young quarterback, say like a Sam Darnold, a Carson Wentz, or Deshaun Watson, good quarterbacks on awful teams, or at least, what a lot of us here at Vendetta think, like especially Wentz and Darnold to be good quarterbacks just with, no support around them. If they were on this team, then even looking at them, they're at 7-4. It looks like an okay record, but I think they could be so much better if they had a quarterback not named Phillip Rivers back there. Just because Phillip Rivers has fallen off of a cliff, He is doing more Philip Rivers things than he's ever done in the career of being Philip Rivers, if that makes any sense. But somehow it does in my mind, and it does to a lot of people. And I hope that the Colts wise up and they try to go after one of these quarterbacks that are in tough situations, because all the Philadelphia, at least the casual ones and the casual NFL players, are turning against Wentz. I'm not giving up on Wentz. It would be cool to go see him in a Colts uniform. It'd be cool for Darnold, because the Jets are probably going to get the number 1 overall pick. And even though Darnold's a good quarterback, there's no way you can pass up on Trevor Lawrence unless Trevor Lawrence pulls an Eli Manning and says, "Screw you guys, don't draft me, or else I'm just not going to play for you guys. So you better not draft me," and forces himself somewhere else. Or if they went out, got Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson with the Colts would just be so funny, and I would love it. It'd be great. I do kind of low key want to see that happen, but they're not a good football team. They have a decent record right now, but they're just not a good football team. They've won some close games. They've beat some okay teams, but nothing that just jumps off the page to me. They act more like the Bears a couple years ago, like I think it was 2 years ago maybe, where they were kind of at the similar spot where they're, winning or in second place in close contention with the division. And I can't remember I think they made the playoffs that year. But we were talking about
with the year they were in the playoffs. They lost in the double doink.
Yeah, that's it.
The double doink.
Because that's when people are like, "Well, Trubisky, he's getting better, and that defense is amazing, top 5 defense in the league." Yeah. So that's what they feel like to me this year. That's what the Colts are, and which I'll get to another team later that I also think is like that Bears team, because I think we got 2 teams, both in the AFC, that are like that. Which there's always those types of teams. But yeah, I don't think they're going to make a whole lot of noise. I don't think they're going to go very far. I just see if they get a wild card spot, then they're going to get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, the Colts to me have on my radar at least, they've been flying just under the radar for me, honestly, because I feel like I don't even pay attention to them. And I mean, they have a decent record. I keep hearing, all I hear is about this great defense that they have down there in Indianapolis, and I get it. It's a really good defense. They stifle a lot of teams,
except the Titans,
except
Derrick Henry,
except Derrick Henry. But in their defense, who really stifles Derrick Henry? You can't stop him, man. You just kind of hope to slow him down a little bit. I mean, but Philip Rivers, he obviously doesn't have it anymore, and it would be pretty fun to see a young good quarterback go to Indianapolis and play with the offense that they currently the players they have currently there. That offensive line is really good. Like you said, Carson Wentz, I like that because listen, Carson Wentz, I'm going to talk about him more later on, but Carson Wentz, it's not like Carson Wentz is bad, okay? I don't get why Philly fans are want to throw him out of town. I understand you're upset, but it's not his fault. He's got no weapons. The offensive line is terrible. Jason Peters is the only good lineman left on that line right now. They just lost Lane Johnson, I think, for the year. So no rest for the weary. It only gets worse for the Eagles. If Carson Wentz went to Indianapolis, he would make them a good offense. T.Y. Hilton would have some resurgence year. They would be a really good offense with a really good defense, and they would be a serious contender for the Super Bowl. But I digress. Philip Rivers is not that man, and the Colts absolutely will not make any noise in the playoffs. The most they'll be is a first round, one and done, and call it a year. That's really all I see from them, to be quite honest. But we'll move on here and get into Extra Crispy. Now, my pick for Extra Crispy this week, he might as well be straight caught in an inferno, burnt up to a crisp and pounded to dust, because he is dead and gone, dead and gone. It is Matt Patricia, the head coach of
There you
the
go.
Detroit Lions, former head coach of the
Yeah.
Detroit Lions. It only took 8 weeks. Well, not even 8 weeks. It only took this entire season for him to get fired. It was a matter of time, and it finally happened. Lions fans everywhere, I wouldn't say they rejoiced, because now that just means that they have another shot to get the head coaching position wrong. But they are definitely happy Matt Patricia is no longer there. Matt Patricia has taken this team. It was a playoff team under Jim Caldwell. They actually looked like they were building towards something. They actually looked like they were going somewhere. And Matt Patricia came in and tore it all down right away. And this team could have never looked worse. They put up a pitiful performance on Thanksgiving, and I have a gripe with the NFL. If I got to see the Cowboys and the Lions, no matter of record, play on Thanksgiving anymore, I will not be invested in Thanksgiving football anymore. I'm sorry, but I just can't. Give me Christmas basketball over Thanksgiving football any day, because the games on Thanksgiving are just terrible. And we got robbed of the only good one that we had, because the Ravens had all their COVID stuff. So
yeah, screw tradition, man. Just give us
honestly,
good football teams.
Forget the tradition, okay? I really don't need to see Matt Stafford and the Lions stink up the joint every Thanksgiving. I don't need to see the Dallas Cowboys stink up the joint every Thanksgiving. Give me some good teams. Give me a game. Give me a ballsy game. Give me like the Chiefs and the Steelers. Like, give me something that like will really make me excited. Don't give me this garbage no more, please, NFL. But Matt Patricia is gone. Thank God he is out of here. Now I have a friend who's a Lions fan, and he I don't know if he was joking or just like terrified. It sounded more terrified to me. He has no trust in this Lions front office, to the point where I asked him, I said, so who do you think is going to be the next Lions head coach? He goes, it says to me with a straight face, he said, Adam Gase.
Now, which he is still not fired.
No,
he's gonna go winless this year and keep his job. It's insane.
With that scenario, I'm just really hoping that the Jets management is thinking, listen, if we fire him, we may win a game, so let's just keep him. I mean, like, I really hope that they
really want Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I really hope that they actually don't believe in this guy. But it is the New York Jets, and I live in New York, and I've seen this my entire life. So I know very well that Adam Gase could very well be here next year. Like that is not a guarantee until he is gone.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So my pick for which, I mean, of course, Patricia, there's not much more I can say on him. We've hounded on him, I think, every week since we've been doing this.
I just had to get that in there that he's finally
gone.
No,
you're good.
Just had to get that out.
Yeah. So now for my extra crispy, we've done players, we've done coaches, and we've even done owners. You've done an owner, I believe. I'm going above that.
Oh, okay.
And it is the league office of the National Football League. And their coddling and babying of the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh,
because you have had other teams. You had the 49ers roll out their practice squad to get annihilated by Miami. One, I appreciated, but two, they get annihilated because they have players on the COVID list, and they're just like, well, you got to play. Sorry, you got to roll them out there. And even though the game finally got played, it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah, today's Wednesday, yeah.
Golly, dude, week's already half over. Yeah. I'm just so my mind, dude. I don't know more. Ever since I got out of school, I don't know what day it is anymore. Yeah, I just turn on the TV. I just turn on the TV and whatever sport is playing, I'm like, oh, there you go. Just real quickly to go on a rabbit chase, I did see a tweet today where someone was like, and it's like, I'm terrible at remembering what day it is. And I was like, but I turned on the TV to see some afternoon football, and thankfully, now that I know that it is Sunday. But because it's just, but anyway, just the whole handling of the situation, because only the Ravens get this treatment. And I
Mhm.
feel really bad for the Steelers, because a lot of the Steelers players, they were just straight up pissed off, because this is not the first time that another team's failures
Mhm.
at following COVID protocol has hurt the Steelers. The Steelers basically got a bye week in week 2 or 3, and so they're having to play the entire NFL season plus try to make a playoff push. I just knocked my phone on the floor. Just make an entire playoff push all in a row without a break around the 7 to 10 week. Just in this time, everyone else is getting their bye weeks late, mid, or late in the season, so they get a little bit of rest and can be ready to make a push in the second half. They're having to play through this whole thing. And not only that, but they were supposed to have an extended break. They were going to play on Thursday and then not play till Sunday. Now, I don't even know what the plan is. I haven't heard of anything about their next game that they play.
Oh, they're playing
Are they
Monday. They're playing Monday.
okay? So they moved it to Monday.
Steelers are playing Monday, and
Okay.
the Ravens I think play Tuesday. If I'm not mistaken, I will check, but I know the Steelers play
Okay.
Monday. That I know the Steelers.
Okay.
Play Monday.
So yeah. So the common I don't understand it. It's like they were looking forward to one playing a primetime game, and everyone was kind of looking forward to it being a primetime game, just from Ravens Steelers division map. And but then Lamar goes down with COVID, and it always felt like, because for people that don't know, when people get put on like the COVID list, at least from the NFL, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have COVID. It just means that they had been in the proximity of someone that had tested positive for COVID, so they get moved to that list, and then they are essentially tested over and over again. But from him not being here, it looks like that he tested positive for COVID. But the continuing of pushing back the games just seemed like the NFL was trying to give the Ravens as much time as possible to try to make it more fair, when the obvious thing that the Ravens should have done is just follow protocol. But whoever broke protocol and got all these other players sick and exposed a bunch of other players that could not play in the game, that is solely the responsibility, and the fault belongs at the Ravens organization and no other team. I don't care if it's the Steelers. It could have been the 0-10 New York Jets that they were playing this week. It still feels fishy and funny, and it's stupid, and they're getting the same treatment that the Pelicans and Zion Williamson got from the NBA, when literally they designed the bubble to try to get Zion to play in that round 1 matchup against LeBron. That was why the whole bubble, that's the only reason why the Wizards got an invite to the bubble, was because they had to extend it so far back for the Pelicans to try to get them in the playoffs. So it's like, well, it looks kind of shady if we just invite Western Conference teams to compete in these playing games. So let's bring in the Wizards, because they're like 4.5 games back. It's showing favoritism, because he's the darling, and there's still a lot of people that want Lamar Jackson to succeed. He's had a great story from a guy that won the Heisman at a small school in Louisville, to when he gets into the league, they're like, hey, why don't you try out for a receiver, be a receiver, and then he eventually wins an MVP. It's a great story, but that doesn't mean that he's the future of the league. We already have the future of the league in Patrick Mahomes, and we still have the now of the league with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. But they are trying to coddle him because they want to make him and Mahomes the next Brady and Manning.
You hit every nail on the head there, Jackson. Let me tell you. This travesty that the NFL front office has been doing with this Ravens Steelers game, and thank God it is final. They finally played it. It's over. But It's just
It was an ugly game,
it was an ugly game, very ugly game.
but it's done. It's over. It's in the record books.
There was about 3 turnovers in a row on the first 3 drives. That's what happens when you don't practice for 11 days. It was, I mean, excuse me here, but listen, the Ravens got every chance that they had to field a quality team in this game. The NFL did not give the 49ers that chance at all. They also, like you said, in that Dolphins game, but then in another game when their whole wide receiver room got COVID, for a Thursday night matchup against the Packers, they didn't even move the Thursday night game to Sunday. They made them play that Thursday night. And
they made the Broncos just this past week. They made the Broncos play without a quarterback, and they applied. They applied to the league. It's like, please let us sign a quarterback. Or it was like even one of the assistant coaches played quarterback like last season in college, and they're like, please, can we suit him up? And the NFL's like, nope, can't do it. Not gonna allow it. We're not gonna bend protocol. And it's like, but literally, and it's like, it's your own fault, because Drew Lock and all the other quarterbacks got fined today. I saw that before we started here. They got fined for failing protocol, but none of that is going to happen to the Ravens.
No, none of that's gonna happen to the Ravens. They, from what I heard, was that they got it from a team staff member, just breaking protocol completely, whatever happened, and he ended up giving it to the entire, multiple players on the team, spread through the locker room like wildfire. And you know what? It honestly, just the NFL has just been ridiculous with this. Honestly, this game should have been. I'm sorry, it should have been forfeited. There's no way you let the Ravens even have a chance to play this game. You should have either made them play Thanksgiving night or had them forfeit the game because they broke protocol. I'm sorry, but it's not only not fair to the Steelers, but it's not fair to the 49ers, in which you made play without a single NFL wide receiver. Their number one receiver in that game, I believe, was a guy named Richie James. Then you made the Broncos. Who? Exactly. Then you made the Broncos run out there with a practice squad wide receiver that played quarterback at Wake Forest for 1 season. I mean, he had about as much quarterback experience as I did. I could have called John Elway and told him, listen, I can sling a ball 40 yards. Like, I'll play quarterback for you. And I probably would have got on the field. I mean, it was just that ridiculous. And they made them go play a game against the Saints. And, like, the Saints, after the game, the Saints, like, felt bad. They were like, I think it was Sean Payton. They were like, listen, they did what they could do. Like, I give them props, like everyone was congratulating this guy that he was 1 for 9. He had a QBR of 0.1 and on a scale of 0 to 100, that was the lowest you could possibly get. It was 0.1. It's just been terrible. This whole week with the COVID protocol, the NFL front office deserves to be put out in the spotlight because of this, because that was just absolutely terrible. That was a horrible handling of the whole situation, and it wasn't fair to anybody involved.
No.
That was just ridiculous. But anyway, move on to our Soggy Toast. My Soggy Toast player this week. Just wrote an article about him today. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but you know what? I don't care because I'm right. You're wrong. Ezekiel Elliott, running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Soggy Toast. You want to talk about Soggy Toast? This guy was drafted in the top 4 of almost every single fantasy league this year. He always is. And this season, he has been doing nothing. There has been no production worthy of the money that they pay him and worthy of his fantasy draft position. He has 181 carries this year for only 700 yards and 5 touchdowns. This is easily his worst season ever. He has not rushed for over 100 yards in all but 1 game this year, which was against the Minnesota Vikings. And the Minnesota Vikings defense is just horrible anyway to begin with. But Ezekiel Elliott has had a really bad year. And you may people may go out there and be like, oh, why is he having a bad year? Like, he's so good. No, he's not good. You know what's good? The Cowboys' offensive line. He's a product of his offensive line, a straight product of his offensive line. If you gave Saquon Barkley that offensive line, Saquon Barkley would have 2,000 yards every single year. The reason he is not performing well this year is because that offensive line is extremely banged up by injuries. Okay, that entire team is ravaged by injuries, but mainly the O-line. And you can't go and sit there and blame it on, oh, Dak Prescott's hurt, so the offense is out of whack. No, the offense isn't out of whack. Okay, Ezekiel Elliott just is not that good. I'm sorry. He's just an average running back who had one of the best offensive lines in NFL history, which is the reason that he was rushing for 1,500 yards. Okay, I'm sorry, but this guy is not that good. I'm tired of everyone praising him like he's some damn demigod and him walking around with his shirt half up, showing his abs in the middle of a game. Like put your goddamn jersey down. Just play. I'm sick of this. Him jumping into the Salvation Army bucket with his little cereal. Oh, I'm eating. Yeah. You're eating because you can walk into the second level of the defense. You don't even have to deal with D linemen in your face. Get out of here, man. He's just not that good. And I'm sorry, but he is highly overrated, has done nothing this year without his full offensive line. When Saquon Barkley, on the other hand, for 2 years in a row, outside of this, I won't even count this year because he tore his ACL early on, but 2 years in a row dealing with one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, Saquon still managed somehow to rack up 1,000 yards rushing and have pretty solid seasons. And you know what? This is just like it's just getting out of hand. It's just getting out of hand. I'm tired of Zeke being worshipped as some demigod because you know what? He's not. He's a product of his offensive line, and the Cowboys should be thanking their lucky stars that they have an offensive line like that so that they can have somebody like Zeke who really just isn't that good. And the only reason he even does good is because of that offensive line. That's all I got to say on that.
Man, tell me how you really feel, Anthony. But yeah, it's definitely a down year. This is probably statistically going to be his worst season. And I'm not going to count 2017. I'm looking at his seasons right now. He was injured, missed a lot of games. In 2017. So that's the only year he didn't have 1,000 yards rushing. But I mean, you can't fault a guy for getting hurt. But yeah, from a fantasy perspective, he's definitely been a bust this year. Like you said, he's probably one of the first 3 running backs taken off the board. Maybe definitely one of the top 4. If you consider the top 4 in the league taken off really early, Cooks, Saquon, Elliott, and then Chubb. And Chubb, I believe, Nick Chubb is a great running back because something like you pointed out, he doesn't have a great offensive line, but the dude's averaging like 6.3 yards a carry right now. He's like the only bright spot of that Cleveland team. And it's because he legitimately can get past the first line, get past that D line, get into the second and third levels of the defense, and really make something happen. I felt like, I don't want to say, I hate to use the word easy when talking about sports because I'm a 5'8" white dude that is that is not in playing shape at all right now. Slowly getting back down, but this is not high school Jackson. This is not me out there balling and hitting threes on the court anymore. This is adult, got a kid now Jackson, and is just taking it easy the past 10 years. But I feel like out of all the places for a running back to land, the Cowboys are always going to be the team that is a more favorable landing spot to running backs because of the correct emphasis. If there's one thing about the culture that the Cowboys have right, it is investing heavily in an offensive line because they have rushing champs every single year. LaShawn McCoy disappeared off the face of the earth. He was with Dallas. Fantastic year, rushing leader, and then he goes off and he disappears. But they've even had players like Darren McFadden had a small resurgence with the team, and it was because DeMarco Murray. I mean, great running backs, but when they leave, they fall off the face of the earth. But when they're there, I mean, they're there, and they are the top running back in the league. So yeah, you can explain down year from the offensive line. I like Zeke. I think he's up there, but I agree with you that he's not performing for draft wise for where he's picked, and then contractually the large amount of money that they are paying him. I'm all for giving running backs money, but there's a limit, and I think Zeke may be over that. And then a year like this, it's a year wasted for running backs. Running backs have 8 years tops in this league of being elite. Even that, and that's like pushing it. 8 years. And it's another year wasted for Zeke.
Absolutely, man. Running backs don't have a long shelf life in this league anymore, and they're so easily replaceable that
it is, because it's become more of a passing league.
Yeah, they're like
now even though you still need a good running game.
Yeah.
But if you're someone like the Cowboys, you can invest in your offensive line, or if anybody, you just invest in a top 2-3 offensive line and spend like a 4th round pick on like a Big Ten running back.
Yeah,
and you'll be fine.
No matter what running back you get, you have a good offensive line, it'll work. I mean, you could look at the Giants. Their offensive line's been playing a lot better since Saquon got hurt, and they've rushed for 100 yards in 7 straight games now with Wayne Gallman and Alfred Morris.
Yeah, and you don't even you don't need one running back to do it all anymore.
Yeah,
you use 2 or 3 cheap running backs for depending on what package you're running out there. So the workhorse back is a dying breed.
Yeah.
In the league, there's not many of them.
Derrick Henry is probably the only exception to this.
Yeah, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, I would say too, when he's healthy, because
probably Kamara,
yeah, and then of course I'd put up there like Cook.
Yeah, I would
Chubb, Chubb still carry, like he shares carries, and then Saquon is one that when healthy is going to get over 20 carries a game by himself. All right, so I've done a first for this show when I attacked the league front office. I'm going to do another first. I'm going after a fan base for my soggy toast, okay? And it is, and by proxy, it's the team also, but it's everything combined. And sorry for viewers if you think this is like cheap of me or like a cop-out for not picking a particular player, but I'm just sick and tired of seeing this stuff, especially after how horrible they played. It's the Bears fan base, okay? So by proxy, the Chicago Bears, but specifically the Bears fan base. I do not want to hear anything from you guys anymore for the rest of the season. Call me back when we are this far into the season and you've only lost 2 games and you put the beat down on the Packers twice already. That's the only time they can come and talk to me ever again. Here is why. Things were getting so bad under Foles. They are begging for Mitch to come back, begging for him. He comes back and they get slacked. When he first came back and he's given his pregame speech, people are like, yeah, ready to run into a wall with him. Yeah, you hit the brick wall and then passed out and woke up at the hospital 2 days later and lost the last 3 brain cells that you had left because you bought into Trubisky. And then not only that, but the shit that they were talking earlier in the season when they did have a winning record was unbelievable. Their record now 5-6. They have beaten one team above 500. Yeah, one team above 500 this season. It's the Buccaneers, and they're 7-5 right now. And like we talked about earlier, a lot of things getting called into question about the Buccaneers. So who's to say we could even give them that win? They're not making the playoffs this year. They started out hot. I put that in quotations, and that's when they started, talking all this trash. But I'm sick and tired of Bears fans. I see it on Twitter. I even see it on Facebook. I see it on Reddit. I see it on YouTube because I browse through like sports YouTube and watching videos, and I see comments about the Bears. I'm tired of Bears fans. I'm tired of talking about the Bears. I'm tired of repeating myself about the Bears. I'm tired about writing about the same things about the Bears. I am to my boiling point about the Bears. When they get a good quarterback, when their front office finally decides to wise up and start making good decisions for that offense, then you can start talking again. And even then, you're still going to be one of the most toxic and delusional franchises. I don't know of another toxic and delusional franchise in the NFL right now. And that is saying something. Okay?
let them know how you feel, Jackson. God damn.
It pisses me off. Like, for real, though, name another fan base of a franchise that acts
There's
like the Bears do,
There's
because
only
they get
one.
a hard on when they are 2-1.
Yeah, there is. Okay, you want to put the? I'll put the Bears there with you. There's two fan bases like that: Chicago Bears and Dallas Cowboys are the only.
Okay,
two.
there you go. Yeah.
Now listen, you getting compared to the Dallas Cowboys fan base is not a good thing at all. Like, it is terrible. They are a team that just after the Vikings, I seen Cowboys fans on Twitter win that Vikings game and have the audacity to say they were going to win the NFC East and then go on a run and win the Super Bowl. Exactly. How in the world? I'm not even going to get into it because it's just so ridiculous. I don't even need to talk about it. But I fully agree with you, man. The Bears fans, and I think I'm not even a Bears fan. I was just a Bears bettor who was tired of eating the cheese on Nick Foles and the Bears. And I said, I want Mitch Trubisky back. He came back. I didn't bet on that. Oh, wait, no, I actually did. I did bet on that game, and they lost, and they got smoked. So I will further instate it right now. I will never, ever again bet on the Chicago Bears. Not happening until there is some new quarterbacks there, because it is terrible. It's a dumpster fire, and any one of their fans that think Mitch Trubisky is going to somehow just like turn it all around at the drop of a hat, it's not happening. He's terrible. Your coach is not good either. Just throw the whole offense away. Like, I feel like, sorry, Khalil Mack, that you have to even deal with that. You generational talent. I'm sorry you have to be on that team.
Yeah, he's got to leave.
That
dude's got to leave.
bad.
And just like looking at the rest of their schedule, here's the rest of their schedule. They got the Lions. That may actually be a win. That may be the one game out of these that they win. Well, they also play the Jaguars. Then the Texans, the Vikings, who they already lost to, and then they play the Packers again, who just put the thump down on them. And then, like, a lot of their losses are fairly close. And it's like, oh, if this and if that, you know what? If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. I don't want to hear that from Bears fans anymore. I'm tired of them. I am fixing to mute anything that has to deal with the Chicago Bears on my Twitter feed because I'm sick and tired of seeing it.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you on that. That's very, very true. Cannot have put that any better myself, to be quite honest with you. Oh, man. But we'll go on to Toast of the Week. This is a good one because not only is it one person, not two, not three, but it is, okay, maybe three or four. It is 3 or 4 people all in one room. I'm talking about the Broncos quarterbacks who decided to not wear their masks in the film room, and then cost their team a chance at even competing on Sunday because they were forced to run out a practice squad wide receiver at quarterback. That was just one of the worst moves ever. And there's a couple, like, I'm sorry, but Blake Bortles, you're really not going to go and take the necessary precautions to make sure that, like, you can play the game. I mean, you got kicked out of Jacksonville, and I mean, look at what is going on with them now. Like, you were so bad that they had to give up on you. You got another chance with the Broncos, and you're waiting for your moment. This could have been your moment if you just wore a damn mask. Drew Lock is another one who, go back to Colin Cowherd's dark horse MVP pick of the year, Drew Lock. Yeah, what a great. Yeah, okay, Colin, that was a great one. This guy can't even. He's supposed to be the franchise leader. of the Denver Broncos, supposed to be the young quarterback there, the up and coming QB, and he can't even do what's necessary to be able to play the game. I'm sorry, but that was just a terrible thing by that quarterback room. They should be ashamed of themselves. They got punished and dragged in the media for days now. I think you even had Drew Lock's mom trying to defend him against the Broncos. This is the funniest thing ever. It's like when you're at school and you were like a kid, you're like getting bullied, and you call your mom, they're making fun of me. And like that's like basically what Drew Lock's mom did. She like just came in and just started yelling at everybody, and it just made matters way worse.
Oh man,
that whole situation was just terrible. And you guys are my toast of the week, all of you. Drew Lock, Driscoll, and Blake Bortles, and I don't know, whatever, if you guys even had a fourth-string quarterback, whatever he was, you're all my toast of the week. You're all just terrible. Just please.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. You would think they would do like a have you ever seen the show Designated Survivor?
I don't think so, no.
It's got crap, what's his name? Anyway, but anyway, like the point of it is like he's like a congressman, and like congressmen, like every time they meet, they like put someone that's in a significant position in Congress, they like take them somewhere else, and they're called the designated survivor. So like if the unthinkable happens and like the entire U.S. government just like is killed in some sort of like attack, then at least there's someone there to take over the reins of the government and be president. And so like in the show, like, yeah, there's a bombing at the Capitol, and like all the Senate, like the president, vice president, speaker, everybody's dead except for this dude because he wasn't there. So you would think that in a COVID world that you would have like your fourth string guy,
yeah,
third string guy, like, listen, it's like, you cannot go anywhere this week. You cannot talk to anybody. And it's like, get your food prep for the week. You come to practice. That's it.
Yep.
Like, that's it. You don't interact. You're not in specific huddles or anything. You just come here. You work out. You run through the offense. You take a shower. You leave. Like, that's it. But they didn't. And so then they had to run out a practice squad wide receiver. But kudos to him. He's got an interesting story to tell. He can tell his kids and grandkids, I was a quarterback in the NFL for one game.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't a very good game. Don't look up the game film, but I'm just going to tell you I'm a quarterback.
Okay, so my toast of the week is again, it's like it's one person, but I'm kind of looping the rest of the team into this. It's Jared Goff and the Rams just playing awful. Somehow they let Nick Mullins beat them. I don't understand how you do that.
Nick Mullins is the truth.
The dude didn't even throw a touchdown. He has a terrible QBR in this game. And somehow Nick Mullins gets away with a win. You let the dude throw for over 250 yards and have a decent completion percentage. Goff, on the other hand, 19 of 31, 198 yards, a QBR of 10.1. Nick Mullins' QBR was 45.8. So Jared Goff and that massive contract just got outplayed by Nick Mullins.
Jared Goff is almost worse than the wide receiver that played quarterback in Denver. He was only 10 points higher than him.
But and then 2 picks, and of course, like running the ball, the Rams had a decent game running the ball. Some wide receivers, if you were a fantasy owner of like Robert Woods, you had a okay-ish day, but it's just a terrible performance, especially in a division that is getting ever so tighter. And just overall in the NFL, you're having some teams at the top that are starting to lose a couple of games. So the playoff race is getting tight, and you need every win that you can possibly get. And the 49ers was a win that the Rams desperately needed, because if they're 8-3 right now, then they're almost all but guaranteed looking at the rest of their record or the rest of their games, you got the Jets, so that's like an instant win. You got the Patriots, which will be close, but now you've got the Cardinals twice and the Seahawks left. You need every win that you can get to be competitive in that division and then just in the NFC in general. But it was a huge letdown, and this 49ers game could be the breaking point, that could have been the make or break moment of their season, and they lost it. And it's because Jared Goff put up a horrible performance.
Yeah, Jared Goff I was never high on him. I'm glad Sean McVay finally called him out in the media, because like he's just been like giving him like the special child treatment, which is like they just seem to always forget the fact that he played horribly in the game, and they're just like, oh yeah, we didn't play too well as a team. Everything was as a team. Now it's finally they're starting to realize, no, we played well as a team. Jared Goff didn't play well. He's the only person that did not play well today. And
it did only 10 points better than the practice squad wide receiver that was thrown into the game.
Exactly. Is horrible. Jared Goff is just not he's just not good. He's not worth that contract. I'm sorry. He's just not worth it at all. And I mean, I'm not even going to make him the excuse of the 49ers got Richard Sherman back and like they got a couple defensive guys back. I'm sorry. You guys are away. The Rams, as of this second this season, the Rams are a way better team than the 49ers. They should have never lost that game. And they let it slip right through their hands because they actually took the lead back, which had nothing to do with Jared Goff. It had everything to do with the defense. No. They took the lead back and Jared Goff gave it right back because that's just all he does. He's just not good at all. And I fully agree with you. Jared Goff is just, oh God, if the Rams don't make the playoffs, Jared Goff's going to be the damn well reason they don't make it. And that's just going to be horrible. The amount of money you're paying him and he's the reason you didn't make the playoffs, that's bad. But so we'll go into our final segment of the week and go into our predictions for next week. My prediction for next week, it's going to be Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz next week is going to be it's going to be one of those weeks where, I think Philadelphia is going to come out with their pitchforks and torches and come looking for him and Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman. And it's just not going to be pretty. Carson Wentz he's not been playing well this season, but at the same time, it's like there's injuries around him and the personnel is terrible. I mean, you got guys like Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and old Alshon Jeffrey who can barely run up and down the field anymore. Like, I really don't know what you expect Carson Wentz to do with all that. Like, his only viable wide receiving threat is Travis Fulgham, is a guy we didn't even know about this time last season, and Dallas Goedert. Those are your only two options really left, and Miles Sanders, but they still don't like to run the ball for some reason, even though you have Miles Sanders, he's a pretty decent running back. I mean, your offensive line stinks, but you can at least try to do something with him. I don't know, man. Carson Wentz, he's not had a really good year this year. He's turning the ball over incredibly high. I think he leads the league in interceptions and turnovers in general, which is just not good. Next week is going to be really, really bad for them. Like, I just see it not going well. And I see the city of Philadelphia, much like when they won the Super Bowl and they were tearing down stuff in excitement, they're going to be tearing down the city of Philadelphia in anger, demanding Doug Peterson, Howie Roseman, and Carson Wentz's heads on sticks.
Well, if I was Wentz, I'd get out of town just from the fact that he needs to go somewhere else. I the more that I watch what's happening, the more I don't want his career to be wasted in Philadelphia, and I hate that because Philadelphia was competitive and was good when people were healthy and they had a decent team around them. You have one good draft, and all of a sudden the team is competing for a Super Bowl, and Carson Wentz is an MVP candidate. But, yeah, and especially it being against the Packers, that's going to be a game where the defense gives up 41 points, and somehow Carson Wentz gets blamed.
Yeah,
for that loss.
yeah, pretty
It's like,
much.
well, if we had a better quarterback. That's like, no, you went up against freaking Aaron Rodgers, who's going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game in like the first half, and then just hand it off to Adams the rest of the game.
Yeah, yeah. Like Carson Wentz, I don't think he doesn't deserve all the blame, but there's also people that, but then it's just like there's too extreme. Like there's people out there that think that he deserves no blame. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Like,
If you
no,
watch
he
if
the
you
blame.
watch these games, he deserves some of the blame. Yeah, but okay, I also agree that he doesn't deserve all the blame because I've watched a lot of these Eagles games that they've just miraculously been on TV for me for some reason, but I've seen pretty much everything that's been going on. It's really not all his fault. And if you get 41 hung up on you by the Packers, you got nobody to blame but the defense. I'm sorry. Ain't nobody's winning that game.
I'm calling it right now. It's going to be 41-17. That's my prediction. We'll see how close it gets.
I could see that. I could really see that.
All right. So it's a quarterback for me also. For my prediction, I'm going Baker Mayfield because they're playing against an actual NFL team. There's none of these, none of these terrible, awful teams. Teams that are like on the fringe. It's not the Bengals. This is not the Cowboys. This is not the Colts. This is a real football team, the Tennessee Titans. And Mayfield, even in terrible games, even in a game against the Jaguars, didn't have an impressive game. Only 258 yards on 19 of 29 completions. I mean, it's not a terrible game by any means, but it's not a great game either. If anything, Nick Chubb was the breakout star of that, averaged 7.6 yards a carry. And I think the only way that they're even competitive, the Browns are competitive in this game, is because Nick Chubb is probably going to have another great day running the football. But this Cleveland Browns defense, they gave up 128 yards to James Robinson. They're going up against a man. There is no other way to put it but a man in Derrick Henry, who just demolished the Colts defense.
Yeah.
And you tell me if he's doing that to the Colts defense that is supposed to be a great defense, that the Browns defense is going to do anything better? No, I don't think so. That team rides or dies with Derrick Henry, and all hail King Henry right now. He is making if he has another great week, if he has a 220 like 3 touchdown performance this week, similar to what he had last week, then he could make a great case for MVP.
Yeah,
because the dude is playing phenomenally.
I think so, absolutely.
But specifically about Baker Mayfield, I think he is definitely going to be the biggest reason why. I think that defense is going to struggle. I think they're going to have a hard time containing A.J. Brown. He'll probably have another great game, as he normally does, which in turn means that Tannehill will have a decent game. And then Henry will have a great game. So that defense is going to have its work cut out for it, and it's going to struggle, but they're not going to have any favors done by Mayfield. And just in general, real quick about this Browns team, they are the other team that I was talking about that remind me of the Bears because the Browns have a great chance of ending up with a decent record, like 11-5. I think they could go. It kind of depends on like how the Ravens situation goes. Like, what are they going to look like in a couple of weeks? Can they get everyone back and healthy? Yeah. And is there anyone else? Like, you don't know. Like 2 weeks from now, maybe people that aren't symptomatic now or were exposed to it but are fine. Maybe they start to develop symptoms because of the incubation period. Who knows with that? But then they play both the New York teams. So sorry, Anthony, but that may very well be a win for them against the Giants and the Jets, but then they play another real team against the Steelers. So 11-5, 10-6, that's the ceiling for these guys. And it's just and the only reason why they're there is because they're beating up on crappy teams. It's because they're rarely leaving, like everyone else, they're rarely leaving the Eastern time zone, which is, I think, an underrated factor for a lot of these teams.
It is. Very.
But even when they're beating bad teams, it's not like they are smoking them or doing what a good team would do, which is winning by at least 17, at least 2 touchdowns even. They're not even doing that. They're winning single digits against teams like the Eagles and the Bengals twice. They have not really blown anyone out this year. So
Yeah, I think I talked about this before in my Fonts 5 picks when I was taking the Browns to cover, although they did not because
mhm.
they just allow every single bad team in a game and they sweat these games out like crazy for no reason. Like I don't even understand why they do that. But the Browns are one of those teams where they are just going to do enough to win. And it's like no matter who they play, it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't make a difference. It could be the Jags, Bengals, doesn't matter. They will win by 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. They don't care. They're just like, as long as we win the game, we win the game. And I mean, it's got to say something about them that they win close games, but at the same time, they're playing terrible teams. So, how great really is that? So I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you may be. I know this is mostly like an NFL thing, but Woj dude. I don't know if you just saw it, but
Oh. Wait. Hold on. To the Wizards for what? John Wall's going to the Rockets
yeah,
and Westbrook's going to
Washington.
and Westbrook's going to what? Wait. Rockets agreed to trade Russell Westbrook to the Wizards for John Wall and a first. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Toast time. Dropping breaking news. Wow. That was okay. Well, damn.
Wow.
That's something. That's something. Okay. Well,
I just saw, shout out to fellow Vendetta sports writer Carl, who just put that in the Slack. But that's why I was kind of not paying attention for a second. It was looking really at my screen because I was like, I got to get to Twitter.
well, I was
wow.
My phone started blowing up. Like my friend just texted me too and just told me the same thing. And I see Carl just said that. Wow, that's crazy. Well, I don't even know what to say about that. That's pretty. I'm speechless. I didn't think Westbrook was going to the Wizards. I thought that was dead and gone.
Okay, really funny. Someone tweeted out trading Russell Westbrook is like for John Wall. It's like trading Russell Westbrook for Russell Westbrook. They're literally the same player.
That's great. That is actually that is phenomenal.
But hey, Boogie, one thing, and someone did point this out, Boogie and John Wall are back together, two Kentucky teammates back together. They always talked about teaming up with each other. Now they're going to do it in Houston.
It's finally happened, and
wow, what a note to end on there.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's awesome. Well, I don't know how Westbrook and Bradley Beal are going to work out together. It's in my opinion, it's just going to be another Westbrook James Harden type situation.
Yeah, I just cannot believe that.
That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
They just did John Wall dirty. They just traded him for basically the player with the same skill set as him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that's good. Wow.
The true winner of this trade is Houston because they get a first round pick back.
Yeah, that's really you got the same player back, but you get the first round pick. So.
Literally the same type of player, just a first round pick back.
Wow, that's just incredible. Woj bomb interrupts even toast time. That's all it is. But that's crazy. And even if we go back to the Cleveland Browns, they stink. Prediction next week. Prediction next week, Browns, they stink. Who knows what'll happen with them. But Westbrook going to John Wall was just an absolute awe-shocker. And you know what? We will definitely end there. So, guys, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also go and become a Patreon. We will put it in the description under the YouTube video. And hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. And we will see you all again next week for another episode of Toast Time.